We often hear from people that we need to take control of our life. We need to set goals and ambitions and pursue them every single day. And that way we achieve fulfillment in our life. However, the forceful way of getting things done is that a way to go forward? Or it is a effortless way of doing? Let's find out from the verse 43 of Taoteching. Hi, welcome back to OneUs. Today it is day 43 and we will be looking at verse 43 from Taoteching. As usual, let's observe a few seconds of silence. Alright, so now let's look at verse 43. The softest thing in the universe overcomes the hardest thing in the universe. The first two lines, Laotzu talk about the nature of being soft to overcome the hard. So that way, how we can show our non-action, unforcing nature, that way we can get things done, just like water. So we know from the past verses as well, the nature of the water is such a way that it just flows. It doesn't show its power or its strength. Rather, whenever it faces an obstacle, it goes around the obstacle instead of fighting the obstacle. It just yields. And Laotzu talks about the very nature of water, which is soft. However, it overcomes anything which is hard. Even by seeing the historic references, we know that wherever the water flowed, it melts even the rock. That's why you can see the layers on the rock, because over a period of time, the hardest rock as well melts away in a way of water. And that's what Laotzu means in the first two lines. Then he goes on to say that without substance can enter where there is no room. So how I see is, when we want to talk about love, most of us, we expect love. That is, we expect that someone should love us, show love to us. We should feel loved instead of giving love. So, for an example, if we love anything in life, it can be other person, things, or a pets or anything. Instead of forcing love from the other beings, instead, if we can give love unconditionally, that's what I relate to when it means without substance can enter, there is no room. Even a people who are cold-hearted over a period of time, they can reciprocate the love that we are showing to them. That's how I see this verse. So instead of expecting love, give love unconditionally. That way, even the person who's cold-hearted will reciprocate the love that you are showing to him. And then he goes on to say, hence I know the value of non-action. So that's what the idea of non-action comes in. So what do you mean by non-action? So in Chinese, they call it as wu wei. Wu wei is non-action. Or in the other way I see it or I relate it is the action without forcing. Or not an active action. Or the other way we can say is an effortless action. You don't do much, still you do things, but you don't force things. For an example, since we are talking about water here, there is one thing that I like to share from my life. So when I was a kid, all the time, whenever I used to go to a well or a sea, I love to float on the water. At that point in time, I really didn't understand how I can float on the water. Literally, I can float for hours. People used to ask me, what are you doing? How are you floating? And I used to jokingly say that there is water inside and the water is outside. What is a reason to struggle? Rather, if I allow myself, I will float. That way, you can also allow yourself to float. And that's something I relate as a way of non-action. Why? Though I was floating, I was not doing anything. At the same time, the floating itself is an act of action, which is of being one with the water, and then that way you float on top of it. Rather, you see the other people who falls into the water, they move their hands and legs violently, and what happens is they get drowned in the water if they don't know swimming. And that's why even when you swim, you cannot fight against the current of the water. Rather, you have to swim between the current or parallel to the shore. That way you can get out of the ocean current. That's how I see the value of non-action. And teaching without words and working without doing. Working without doing is so profound. If you speak to any artist, I'm sure that they will stand by this word, working without doing. What here I understand is, it is working without doing, it is to be on the state of being flow. What is the state of flow? It is allow oneself to completely immerse themselves to that moment or the work they are doing. So that way, the work doesn't look like a work, however, the great things can get accomplished by that. And that is a way of working without doing, without putting an effort into it, being effortless. And that's why the great artists enjoy working hours and hours and hours without getting burned out, without feeling exhausted. Their creativity comes again and again, and they can get flow like a water forever. And that is the true essence of working without doing. And then he goes on to say, or understood by very few. The way of non-action is understood by very few people. What he means here is, though as an idea we may understand and grasp the way of effortless action, to practice it, we have to be in the state of flow. We should not be forcing anything. Rather, allow things to unreveal itself. That's a way of nature. And that way we can get things done. Just relax, be in silence, don't force things, look for things unfold automatically. And this is kind of like, it is quite opposite to what we believe, or most people believe. That is, we human beings come with an intellectual sense and rational way of thinking. We can force our way through nature. And that way we want to take control of everything. We wanted to force our view. It can be towards for a good cause as well, right? So it can be environment, nature, or animals. It can be anything. However, instead of fighting and forcing, you take care of it. Do your job, but don't force it. That way, things will be taken care of. With that, we come to an end of verse 43. So one actionable thought for today is, practice to be in silence and relax yourself. Even if you are in the middle of the work, allow yourself to relax a bit. And that way, you're not trying to stress your own self. Instead, look for a way that you can enjoy doing that work. How do you get into the state of flow? The flow itself is a huge subject. People and research are going on and on to understand the idea of being in flow. And I am sure that if you are in the state of flow, you will enjoy your work. At the same time, all the creativity will flow to you and you can get things done. With that thought, let's conclude day 43. Talk to you tomorrow then. Thank you.